welcome to this episode of Mental Odyssey. I'm your host today, Tom, with my very special guest, our usual host, Sarah. Hit the applause button. Yeah. There you go. So, special guest.
Special guest.
We have some questions for you today.
Oh, do ya?
Mm-hmm. This is our 15th installment of the second season of Mental Odyssey.
That makes it sound so bougie.
Because it is.
Installment.
It's an installment.
It's an installment.
Yeah. I was going to say more crazy English words, but it's going to get a bit weird in here. So, these questions, you've asked them to 14 other people. And it is high time that you answer your own questions. But first, I have a question for you.
Ooh, okay.
So, if you need a reminder on what these questions are, I'll give them to you. But why did you make these questions? I just want to start asking for other people.
Okay, so the place that I was in when I first came up with these questions was like not the most hopeful place. I mean, if you like think about all of them, they're all kind of like, damn, you going through something. But
if your friend says it, you send him a text and say, hey, you
okay? Good? You good, homie? Yeah. But anyway, so the how to handle rejection, that one came after getting to like the fourth and final step after a month of interviewing for this job that was going to get us out of like every bad situation we were in, like financially with my health insurance that I had just lost. Like this was going to be, it was super close to home, like gonna solve everything. And then it didn't happen. And I was like, how do I handle this? So I wrote that one down. The antidote to loneliness. So that question came about from watching the Old Folks Home for 4-year-olds. That's what it's called?
Yeah, close. Old People's Home for 4-year-olds.
Old People's Home for 4-year-olds.
The Australian series.
Yeah. So basically there's just like a retirement home and they set up a preschool in the retirement home. And each old person is given like a preschooler to like work with, and the joy that it brought to all of them, and also the like excruciating loneliness that each of them felt before the preschoolers were there really got me questioning, like, how do people usually handle loneliness? Like, how does that, because like I'm a very empathetic person and I was like absorbing this loneliness from watching this show. It was just so sad to see these old people with like nobody around, like everybody else has their own lives going on, and it made me sad. So anyway, that's how we got the antidote to loneliness. For the pick your career, it's because I am genuinely curious how somebody like narrows it down. I wanted to know if it's just like luck or, you know, like I'm searching for some direction at this point because I don't know what I want to do still. And then what's it like being in a long-term relationship? This one actually came because of the asking questions to Jason. He started talking about his relationship with Holly, and I was like, you know what? That's a good idea. I'm going to add that question to these.
Yeah. Because
it is interesting. Everybody has their own experiences with long-term relationships and how to make them work. And like, even when you ask the question, like what people, like how they take it, what they respond with, it's interesting. That one was purely out of just like, let's see. Plus we just got married and can't help to have some wisdom from people that have lived more than we have.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
Anyway, yeah, that's how I came up with the questions.
All right.
Thanks for asking.
Okay, so without further ado, question 1, how do you handle rejection?
Historically, I share my mom's answer, which is not great. I would say that I try to get logic involved as soon as possible. I think that's like my defense, is to just like logic my way into feeling better about it, which I think I should probably address the feelings that I have before like trying to just like rationalize them and then like put them in this box. That's kind of what I do. Yeah, rejection's a hard one for me. I just had another like relapse of a heavy rejection basically with my last manager. I mean, I couldn't do a single thing right. Like none of the things that I did there could be appreciated, and I tried really hard, and to only be recognized for the things that I wasn't doing right. That rejection is really hard. Like, especially at work, having other people validating me and telling me that, like, I am good at my job and they appreciate what I do and they appreciate the energy that I bring and they like the leader that I am. But, like, the one person that can actually, like, fire me, the one person that can either keep me employed or not, couldn't see it in me. And, like, that rejection, I mean, I'm still having a hard time trying to figure out how to deal with it. The nice thing is that I have, like, a weight lifted off of my shoulders this time. So even though the rejection is hard to handle, it's like at least I don't have to keep going in and facing the same situation over and over again. I don't know if I have a good way of handling rejection.
Well, the question isn't, is your way a good way? It's how do you handle it?
Yeah, that's how I handle it. I rationalize. I like make it logical, break it down into story form so that I can like look at it as a viewer, kind of take myself and my emotions out of the situation, which is helpful to like get through a situation, but it's not necessarily helpful in like resolving it within yourself, I don't think.
I don't remember who I was talking to in the bar, or not. I wasn't at the bar, I was at work. But I was letting him know that like when in our relationship, when you have a problem, you tell me. And the formula for success is so simple. It's just that. Just tell me that you have a problem. And I need to be open to hearing the problem and not getting defensive. But in order to do that, I need to know that there's a problem.
Right.
And you do a very good job of telling me that you have an issue. And you did the same thing with your former manager, where you're like, hey, this is exactly what I need from you. And it's such a rare thing that someone literally tells you exactly what they need. There's no read between the lines. There's no underhanded agenda. It's just, hey, I need you to lift me up more than you bring me down. Yep. That's what you asked him to do.
Yes.
And he did not do that.
From day one.
You actually told him what you needed to be successful in your role.
Yes.
And at the time that we were going through this, I think it was before you quit, I had told you the same thing, that some of the best managers that I've ever had kind of interpret the rules in their own way, not in the sense that they use it against you, but in like, hey, technically we shouldn't do this, but you're the most efficient when you do it that way, and it doesn't exactly break the rules. Have at it.
Right.
You know, just don't mention it.
Right.
You know? And so on paper, leaders like that don't really make a whole lot of sense. They're like, we're just paying this guy. It doesn't make sense. But then you ask the people that work under that person or with that person, and they have glowing reviews, which you did, from both customers, the folks under you, other managers that you worked with, but never your store managers.
Never my store manager.
Or the district managers or the regional managers. Yeah. None of it.
Yeah.
And they wasted it. I'm like, you guys literally burned a really good leader.
Yeah.
But that's up to them. I mean, that's what you get when you work for a corporation. But
it's unfortunate because I had such high hopes.
Yeah.
I really believed in him as a manager.
You told them exactly what the problems were and exactly what you needed to go fix those problems, and they still couldn't do that.
No.
It's silly, but...
Yeah, the whole way that all of it went down is just sorely disappointing to me. It's very disappointing.
All right. Question 2. How did you pick a career?
I have not picked a career. Yeah. The reason I ask this is very much because I have absolutely no idea what to do. I was parentified as a child. I was raised a people pleaser. Like, I got that from my dad, and it was fed from my mom. Like, she was very much down to, like, offload some responsibilities onto me. Basically being, like, a personal assistant a little bit. You know, like, picking up all the slack and, like, doing the things. I think that kind of sent me in the trajectory of kind of, like, a people-pleasing career. I have always worked in customer-facing industries because I enjoy helping other people. I got a job when I was 14, turning 15, my first job at Lagoon. And from then, it was like I got a job right down the street at Arctic Circle because it was close. It was just like the next best option. And then I talked to my aunt and got on with Marriott, worked there for 3 years. That was really fun. I enjoyed that job, learned a lot. That got me up to like 5.5 years of experience in customer service. And so, I mean, at that point, it was like, okay, I guess I got to keep going down this route. It's what I'm good at. Customer service is what I'm good at. I've seen my mom and my grandma not react the best way to customer service people as well. And so it gave me a little bit extra of a push. Yeah, it gave me an extra of a push to have grace for people that are extremely frustrated in a customer service situation. And so, like, relating it to, like, this could just be my mom or my grandma just, you know, frustrated with the situation. And I can put my empathy and help them have a better resolution to their problem. I enjoy being that person that helps, like, bring resolution to things. And I think that's why I do so well in customer service. I imagine finding myself in a career that has to do with people always. Like, I think that'll be a steady thing that follows me throughout, but I don't know what I'm going to do as a career. I know that I love doing this as a hobby. I'd say that I, like, if I could pick one, it would probably be that mixed with, like, I don't know, some kind of, like, advice giving or something. I don't know. I just love reality and the human experience and all of that stuff. So if I could get into something, like, dreaming big in a career, it would have something to do with helping people live more joyful lives. I know that I love doing art as a hobby. I'd like to make money off of either one of those. That would be ideal, but we don't live in an ideal world, and a capitalistic society does not nurture the creative spirit.
No, but it doesn't nurture the entrepreneur.
It does.
Yeah.
It does do that.
But as of now, you're undecided, so
yeah,
that's the answer to the question.
Yeah, I'm still at a loss on that one. I have no idea what I'm gonna do.
No, I mean, I disagree. I know what you want to be. You've talked about it a bunch. You wanted to be a peer support specialist. Is that what they're called? Yeah, we've gone through that, or a life coach, financial counselor. Yeah.
Super nanny.
Super nanny.
Super nanny.
Yeah. What really gets my goat is that to start a lot of these, you need a college education.
Yep.
You know, a lot of places they offer either college education or relevant experience, but in order to get the relevant experience, you have to get your foot in the door with a college education.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. It's a hard, like that's part of why I have such a hard time picking a career. I'm pretty unwilling to go to school. Pretty unwilling.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. I'm pretty stubborn about that. I don't want to have to go into severe debt for the hope of making some money down the road someday for a degree that somebody else said, now you are educated enough to go out to the world and share
Which is
your information.
Such a lie.
Right.
Have you ever met a fresh 22-year-old straight out of college getting into the field?
Right. Like, life experience doesn't mean shit these days.
Well, life experience means a lot when you talk to people, but
right.
in order
on a
to get that conversation,
basis.
some people need the college education first.
Well, but it doesn't mean shit
Just to
in a
sit down
job.
with you.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, in a job, in like a where you make money setting, it doesn't mean shit. And that's where it matters.
I will say that a benefit of going to college is it does show that you're smarter than the average bear. Because, like, you have to put up with a lot of stuff. And on top of that, it's furthering education beyond what you learned in high school. Most folks just go to high school, graduate, and call it a night.
I think another reason why I'm so hesitant to go to school is because I'm not positive enough about any of the things that I'm interested in to, like, go into a significant amount of debt. Like a therapist, I thought for a while that was for sure what I wanted to do. But then thinking about having it as a job, having 10 years, I'm 10 years out. What am I going to do for 10 years? Right? Like, that's first of all, what job am I going to do alongside schooling? Then when I get out of school, am I still going to have the interest in it that I do now? And am I going to actually have the emotional capacity to hold all of that information about every other person?
Yeah. See, that's my worry.
Yeah.
Because, like, you take a lot of people's feelings to heart. And that job will cost you more than just money.
Right.
And
I bring home work when it's not even therapy, right? I'm not taking on people's most traumatic events every single day. Like, I brought coffee home with me. I brought just the everyday goings on of running that store home with me. It wasn't as deep as somebody's, like, traumatic experience. So if I can't separate myself from, coffee and leave that at work, it's like, it's hard to imagine that I'd be able to separate myself and leave work at work. Mm-hmm. Like, I want to help people and I want to be able to hold space for the really hard things that they go through. But I don't think that I'm meant to be the only person that's talking to them. So then the one thing that I was really sure about that I wanted to do now as an adult with some retrospect and, like, knowing that I can't carry the weight of the whole world's problems on my shoulder.
I mean, like, you've got one that you haven't talked about.
It took a lot for me to go to the therapy one, right? To, like, feel pretty sure about that. I mean, the peer support specialist is the same thing. Mm-hmm.
I think it's
the same shit.
I think that one has to do with kids, though, doesn't it?
Well,
like
it's
peer support for kids.
It's basically
at risk.
People who are going through a rough time, like, being there for them. Again, you're seeing people through struggle. You're doing it for a job. You don't have, like, a choice of whether or not to, like, I would have to separate from my empathy a bit to be able to be in one of those jobs where it's like you're actually seeing people in, like, active addiction and struggle. I think I'm going to end up being like my grandma at 83 years old, not knowing what I want to be when I grow up. I feel like I'm kind of destined for that fate because I'm just so clueless at this point as to what direction to go. I hope I have more of a path in a year.
37 years. 57 years. So you have to confront that.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, 57 years to figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a long time. What has it been like to be in a long-term relationship?
Ooh, it's been a lot of different things. It's been exciting and secure and heartbreaking and adventurous and educational. I've learned a lot from being in relationships, both, like, friendships and romantic relationships and family relationships, like, all of it.
Yeah, I guess actually that's something I just noticed with this question is it doesn't define what long-term relationship is,
Yeah, I was interested to see that most people took that as like a
marriage,
romantic relationship.
I think it's just because of the fact that long-term relationship is synonymous with fiancés, marriages, and
you
stuff.
You hear
these
relationship,
days.
you don't always think.
Yeah, there's other forms.
If you're married or in a relationship, you think of that first.
Yeah, so I guess we'll do this in a two-parter.
Yeah.
So first, we'll go with like intimate relationship specifically. Yeah. You said you learned a lot. What have you learned?
I mean, I've learned that I have tendencies to be codependent. I've learned how to not follow my tendencies to be codependent. I've learned that no matter how much you trust somebody, no matter how sure you are of somebody, you can still end up getting fucked over in the end. I've also learned that even if you do fucked up shit to people, they'll still stick by your side through relationships, you know? I mean, I've had people that ran for like nothing, you know? Gave up a relationship for no good reason at all, just because they thought the grass was greener on the other side and they found out that it wasn't.
The grass is always greener where you water it.
Exactly. I've had relationships like with Ashley where, you know, I was on vacation for a while. I wasn't watering nothing. And she was like, it's okay, I'll take care of it. And there was still a relationship to come back to. And when I had my head on straight, and same with Shaylee, you know. Like, I've learned a lot through those relationships. I've learned that the closeness of the relationship is only as good as your resolution skills. A relationship can only get as deep as your resolution skills. Really.
Yeah, unresolved feelings are a great way to cause a divide.
Oh, for sure. And to keep you from getting deep with somebody. Because if you don't have that, like, life is guaranteed to throw you conflict. It's going to happen. You're going to disagree with people. It's like a guaranteed. At the end of the day, it's how well you're willing to hold yourself, hold the other person in high regard while you're still upset, to where you don't intentionally go out of your way to hurt their feelings. And like operating with resolution in mind, I really do think those are the keys to a successful long-term relationship, no matter what kind of relationship it is. It's so crucial. You got to give space for the other person to have their own experience. And sometimes you didn't even mean to, but you hurt their feelings, and it's okay. And, you know, with resolution in mind, just owning up to whatever it is. You know.
A good majority of things can be fixed with a genuine apology and better, what's the word I'm looking for? Actions, I guess? Better actions moving forward.
Yeah, reaction,
reinforcing your apology of not actively trying to do that thing that hurt someone again.
Yes. Yeah, acknowledging it and then going forward actively trying not to do that again. Yeah.
It's remarkable what you can do with that.
Right.
Just apologize and mean it, and then have your actions back it up. It is super easy.
Right. I would say that the hard work that we've put into it has really paid off for us, because it wasn't always easy to get along or to resolve things, or, you know, we've gotten a lot better over time. And I would say I'm very satisfied with the way that our relationship is. Like, it's very well-rounded. I feel good in every area. And that's not something that I felt before in a relationship. So, like, you feel like my family.
Yeah.
I actually feel like a family connection with you.
Yeah.
I mean, I should. We're fucking married, but...
yeah.
Like, I have a level of security that I haven't felt in any other relationship. I think in learning each other, like, it's very comforting to know that I have you in my corner and that you understand me some days better than I understand myself. Amy said that about Heath, and I'm like, yeah, I get you on that, because there's times where it's like, you know exactly what's going on with me before I do.
I'm detached.
So,
I'm not involved in the rest of your thoughts.
You're an observer of me.
On.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Historically, relationships, my long-term relationships, One of them was very chaotic and stressful and traumatic and manipulative and abusive emotionally. It's also been really, really decent. I've had like a really decent long-term relationship that didn't really last just because it wasn't meant to be. I think that when you live close to somebody the way that you do in a long-term relationship, or at least the way that I have in a long-term relationship, I've lived with several people, and you learn a lot about yourself living with another person 24/7. You learn a lot about the way that you communicate, a lot about the way that you react to things. You know, if you're paying attention enough to be self-aware of the situations that you're in, like, you can learn a lot about yourself in a long-term relationship. And I think that's above all else. I've learned a lot about myself in all of the long-term relationships that I've had, including my friendships, my non-romantic long-term relationships. I think another thing that my mom brought up, she was giving me feedback about my podcast, and she said that one of the things that she gets out of it is perspective. And I think perspective and being willing to see another person's is another requirement for a long-term relationship. Mm-hmm. Because you have to be willing to put your perspective down for a second, walk over to the other side and look at what somebody else is looking at, you know, because sometimes you have a different understanding of how something happened than someone else did. And until you're willing to genuinely cross-check the narratives, you're not going to understand what the upset is actually about. You're not going to understand why someone is fully upset, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you can't actually resolve something unless if you're curious about how you hurt them, you know? Switching to their perspective and being willing to see their perspective. Not taking it personally. That's something that I've learned how to do in a long-term relationship. Sometimes it's not about you, and sometimes you didn't mean to hurt somebody, but you did, and you have to apologize. And that's just where you're at. I've had to do it with my 2 longest non-romantic relationships. Apologize for the person that I was, because I wasn't always the best to either one of them. But we've grown together, and it's taught me a lot. Like, I'm so grateful for the long-term relationships and the lessons I've learned from them. So.
Good.
Yeah.
Final question. What is the antidote to loneliness?
I would say there isn't one. I don't think that there's a cure to it. I don't think that there's a fix to it. I think it's a natural human emotion that we feel. And just like any emotion, we can get stuck there. You know, some people get stuck in anger. Some people get stuck in sadness. Some people get stuck in loneliness, you know. You really do have to get okay with yourself. Like, if you're not okay with attacking loneliness, you're never going to get out of it.
Which leads to my answer. Self-assurance.
Yeah, self-assurance.
But it's not an antidote. It's not a blanket statement.
Yeah, I don't think that there is one. I mean, animals help, but at the same time, I've felt really lonely having to deal with them by myself.
Yeah, and imagine when that thing finally dies.
Right.
The thing that carried you through all of that loneliness. When that animal dies, you're going to be just
another
as lonely.
deep, like, it's like you can have crutches, right? But like loneliness at the end of the day, unless if you, I don't know, maybe build like a raft, something supportive to help you get through the waves of loneliness. Mm-hmm. The tides of loneliness, because I do think that it comes and goes based on what's happening. You know what I think might actually help? I think that the closest thing to an antidote to loneliness would be questioning your loneliness. Where is this coming from? Why does it hurt so bad? You know, where else have I felt this? Like, get curious about the loneliness, dive into the loneliness. Like, get to know it as a being, as an essence, as a whole story. you know? Because the more you know about the loneliness, the more you know of like what you have to ask your loneliness what it needs. Yeah. And how are you going to know what your loneliness needs if you're not even curious about your loneliness?
I think you're talking about the final step in a chain of reactions that need to happen. Because, like, in order to ask yourself those questions, you need to have the mental capacity to even get there. If you're, like, in the middle of it, if you're in the middle of those feelings, something just happened where you thought you had loneliness figured out, and then all of a sudden you got really lonely really fast, you're not going to have the mental capacity to ask any questions. You're going to be burnt out. You're going to be exhausted with everything. You're going to be fed up with everything. Oh, that's right. First of all, you have to get sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Right.
And then you have to have the mental capacity to ask those questions. And then you have to ask the questions. Then you have to process those answers that you get yourself.
Yeah.
And then you have to do something about it.
Right.
So it's this chain reaction of effort. And if you're not willing to put in that effort, there is no antidote to loneliness for you.
Exactly. That's why it's like everybody has their own thing that can help with it, but at the end of the day, it's part of the human experience.
Yeah.
We are community beings. We're meant to be in tribes. We're meant to be in communities. I think surrounding yourself by other people that share interests with you or share a common mindset can help you feel less lonely, you know? I think that, unfortunately, if you fall into a loneliness mindset, you're going to be less willing to actually seek those out, or people are going to be less willing to be around you. Because a lot of the times when you're, like, super lonely, it ends up being most of what you talk about when you actually talk to somebody. Because you don't get to talk to them very often, and then you actually get to, like, let out your thoughts, and then people don't want to be around somebody that only talks about how lonely they are.
Yeah. It's a bit of a fun suck.
Yeah. So it's like a delicate balance of like, it's a human emotion, but just like any of them, you can't let yourself get stuck in just feeling that one thing. You have to actively take steps to try and get out of that headspace. You know, feel it, let it be what it is, accept the feelings that you have, and then try to get to a different place with it. That's what I'd say. Surround yourself with people that make you feel less lonely. Go out and do things that make you feel less lonely. Get comfortable with yourself. Become less lonely in your own presence. Depend less on people to fill that void. You know, there's options of how to deal with it, but there's not an antidote, in my opinion.
I'd say it's a decent answer. Yeah. Didn't mean to smack my lips there.
You got any bonus questions for me?
I can. Yeah, if you give me a second. Okay, I got one. How easy is it for you to ask for help?
Depends on with what.
All right. Let's just go with life help. Broad term. How do you interpret that?
I don't know. You should know the answer to that. Hey, dearie.
Ugh. That's not what I'm talking about. I mean,
I'm willing to ask for help with a lot.
Hardship. Taking the dogs outside is not hardship. That's laziness.
To me, that's hardship.
No,
I swear to God.
Is. Yeah.
After dealing with fucking Shasta for 10 years.
The only time I will grant you that
Shasta.
It's hardship is when it's 0 degrees outside and the wind chill makes it -10.
Yeah, you act like it's fucking hardship every time, though.
You do.
Don't get it twisted.
You do. The hardship
like,
for me.
Oh my God.
Yeah, the hardship for me is you pawning off your responsibilities on me.
How is it my responsibility? They're my dog, or they're our dogs.
Oh, see, now you're using the my dogs.
Not, I meant to say they're our
your
dogs
now. Okay.
No, they're our dogs. How is it my responsibility if they're our dogs?
Well, considering only one of us has a job right now, there shouldn't be any reason.
Okay. Carries us for a whole fucking year. 2 weeks in.
I'm just joshing you.
You fucking better be.
I am. I'm just joshing you.
I don't I don't ask for help easily when it comes to emotional shit. Actually, I do. I don't get it easily, but I ask for it pretty easily.
That's fair.
I just, like, I know that this sounds fucked up, but I feel like sometimes my problems are too complex for other people to help with.
I mean, kinda. Because it's in your mind.
Right. And I've done a lot of therapy, so I understand it on, like, a deep level. I understand what I understand on a deep level, and trying to get somebody else to understand that and then help me along that thought process is sometimes hard.
Oh, I got a question for you. It goes along with that. How do you react when you figure out someone isn't as deep as you thought they were?
I'd say it's just disappointing. I think the depth is less important to me than the resolution skills are. And I feel like they kind of go hand in hand. If you haven't done enough like deep diving into your own mind or conversations with other people, your resolution skills are probably not great, which then makes you kind of an insufferable person.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that, like, I mean, the current situation at hand, right?
Yeah.
Or even my last one with my manager, like, and the one with the fucking manager here.
Ugh.
Like, the lack of depth and empathy for another human being's experience.
The selfishness.
Yes. Just like the selfishness of, like, with my manager, it was like, you're not meeting my expectation, even though he was very unclear of what his expectation was. And even the things that he was clear about that I did do better on, he never acknowledged that shit. So, like.
Or followed up.
Right.
The things that he wanted from you, you were doing, and then didn't follow up with what he said he would.
Yeah. Which is
and then
disappointing.
You know, I like the answer of resolution skills because you can do all of that.
Right.
And have wonderful resolution skills. Not just resolution skills, but reconnection skills.
Right.
Like if you mess up so colossally bad like that, you can still undo it.
Right.
And I think that's what people don't understand.
Right.
Like you can undo just about any mistake that you make.
Yeah.
Like unless it costs someone a life. Yeah. Then you can undo just about everything.
Own up to your shit, man. Just own up to what happened.
Even if they forgive you and never talk to you again, like
own up to like the office lady. If she could have just been like, you know what, I'm sorry that times are really tough. There's nothing that I can do about it, and I wish that there was. Right?
Yeah.
Easy enough. But she didn't have the depth or the resolution skills to incorporate empathy in that conversation. Mm-hmm. Right? And then with the shit that's going on today, it's just like she doesn't have the depth to think about another person's experience, a big fucking day of somebody else's experience, and wants to flip the script and act like she's the one that's getting hurt by this. The lack of resolution skills in all of those instances is what bothers me, not the lack of depth.
What gets me about it is it is the single most important day of most people's lives.
Right.
It has nothing to do about you.
Nothing.
Or nothing to do with you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And the resolution is right fucking there. Like that's the thing that pisses me off the most about each of these situations is where
I gave them the
fucking resolution. All they had to do was use it.
See, that's one thing I like about you is you don't hold it against someone if they don't know how to resolve it.
No.
You're like, okay,
I don't expect it.
I will give you the solution. Just take it.
Yes. And that has been such a
so
common
many
thing.
People can't just take the solution. It's weird.
This is why it's hard for me to trust other people with the things that I'm going through. Mm-hmm. That is why. Because it's like, I have enough skill to fucking lend it out to people.
And they still
and it's usually not reciprocated back to me.
It's free. You lend it for free. There's no what do you call it? No strings attached with you.
I mean,
that's
the
not
very
true.
small
the
string that I would like to be attached. The string that I would like to be attached is resolution skills, really. Yeah. Because our relationship can be awesome and fun. If we cannot resolve conflict, it's not going to last, and there's no point in doing this.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Let's do a quick recap so we can recap it. How do you handle rejection?
Not great.
Got it. What's the antidote to loneliness?
There isn't one.
How did you pick a career?
I haven't.
And what's it like being in a long-term relationship?
Pretty cool.
Cool. Well, that, dear listeners, is nihilism summed up. And
your wife in a nihilistic headspace.
Yep, that's my wife. I married that. We'll see you again in a week.
Yeah.
Hopefully in better spirits. We'll do this again.
Yeah, we'll see. It is interesting to be recording this right now because I am in a very similar headspace to the headspace that I came up with the questions in. So I'm very much like burnt out from the idea of a career, which is part of why I asked that question. I'm very much feeling rejected, which is why I asked the question about rejection. I'm making a move to help with the loneliness part by moving to Utah, being closer to my support system. And our relationship is good. But there's other ones that are still like triggering that.
Yeah.
It's hard to have a long-term relationship without resolution.
Agreed.
So I think my answers might be a little bit different if I were in a different headspace right now, but
guess we'll find out.
That's where we're at now. Stay tuned, I guess.
Yeah. Stay tuned.
Thanks for doing this with me.
You're welcome.
Till next time.
Until next time.
Mental Odyssey is a Dream and Do podcast, produced and edited by yours truly. The music is owned by Chill Hop, and this song is Velocities by Sleepy Fish. Go check them out. Thanks for being here.